is just the influence of Clear Creek. And you can see how this high quality water from Clear Creek really is influencing that bug population. And then as you move downstream, it kind of gets worse. And then as South Fork Mineral Creek, with the confluence with Mineral Creek, as you probably know, is really influenced by heavy metals, and that bug population just totally drops off. Not only just the EPT index, but specifically at this site, you lose the red and the yellow, the mayflies and the caddisflies just totally disappear, and moving downstream just gets worse. So that's one indices that we'll use.
Does temperature factor into temperature?
Temperature can, absolutely. Yeah, warmer temperatures. Yeah, temperature can affect the metal concentrations and the nutrients and on down the line, and a lot of the sensitive species don't like warmer temperatures, especially the bigger stoneflies. So that's just one indices that we'll be using on these monitoring here on the valley floor. The result will be a comparison from sites moving from the east side of the valley floor to the west side, moving downstream. So we'll have a longitudinal gradient similar to this, but also we'll have a gradient over time, because their samples were taken about, 5, 6, 7 years ago. We took some last year, we're going to take some this year. So we'll be able to see how that community has changed using these indices over time.
When you say species, is that numbers of individuals, or are you talking about distinct species of
this
different?
This one is distinct species. Richness is a measure of the number of species,
okay,
not the number of individuals.
Okay.
So it would be like today we saw, I think, 3 species of mayflies, so the red bar would be 3.
Got it, okay.
Here is, I've been talking about whether species are sensitive or tolerant. Every single species of macroinvertebrate has been assigned a tolerance value between 1 and 10. 10 meaning it's really tolerant of pollution, indicating it's probably in some really nasty water. None of the bugs we saw here today, with the exception of maybe that mite, would have a high tolerance value, would be really tolerant of pollution. Most of these, their tolerance value is probably 5 or lower, which indicates they're on the sensitive side. So they're sensitive to pollution, they're in places with less pollution. It's a healthier bug population, probably healthier waters. This graph is showing in blue the relative abundance, so the percent of the community that's made up of species that are sensitive, have a value of like 0, 1, 2, 3, and tolerant are the species that have a value of 7, 8, 9, 10, or I think it's 8, 9, 10. In this case, I'm only looking at species that are sensitive to metal pollution, because that's what we're looking at in this particular system. But you can see same longitudinal gradient from going from upstream to downstream. Starts off with some sensitive species, not that many tolerant species. The sensitive species disappears here for some reason, and the tolerant species increase. But then here's that Clear Creek water site that's really healthy. Lots of sensitive species, not many tolerant species at all. And then where that pours into South Fork Mineral Creek, that area is lots of sensitive species. A big, 40 to 35% or something of the community is made up of sensitive species. That's a pretty good indicator, and not many tolerant species at all. And then this is only about 1.5 miles downstream. And just, you see, the sensitive species totally disappear from that point on, going downstream, and the tolerant species are much more abundant and make up the community. So you can take these measures of richness, which is the number of species, and then this is looking at the composition of the community, and then combine that into other indices. This one is called the Hilsenhoff Biotic Index, and it's basically just taking the sensitivity and tolerance of organisms and how many species there are and their abundance in the community, and creates this numerical value for the whole population. And the higher the value, the more tolerant that community is to pollution, and the lower the value, the more sensitive it is to pollution. And so what you're looking for is, these lower values are indicating healthier water quality and healthier stream community. So you see something similar here where Clear Creek, the value's lower, healthier, and then all of a sudden it just gets bad going downstream.
So how long have records been kept of some of this?
On the San Miguel?
On the San Miguel. How long have you had some data that relates to this?
I'll speak to the Animas because I've done much more work over there.
Okay.
I think that there are samples from the San Miguel that probably date back a while. From these 4 particular sites we just have from that environmental report, so we'll be using that as baseline and comparing those 5, 6, 7 years. On the Animas, I have a data set going back to 1992, and so I've done some sampling the past couple of years for the Animas River Stakeholders Group and Trout Unlimited on the Animas River, and we've been looking at trends in the macrovertebrate communities over time from 1992 to 2014. And so really you can get these great data sets of changes over time. And what we're doing here by collecting samples this past fall and then collecting samples again this fall is you probably wouldn't anticipate much change between these 2 years because I'm not aware of anything that's happened. But what that information is really valuable because it shows you the natural annual variability in the community. So if we see, that there are differences about 2 of the EPT index or something, we know that if we come back in 10 years and the difference is 2, it's probably just annual variability and nothing's changed. Whereas if we come back and our change over time is larger than what we've calculated as the annual variability, we'll really truly be able to say that it's attributable to time and as opposed to just variability. So we're excited that we have that foresight here to be able to get a couple years in a row to be able to make that assessment. Sorry there were no bigger stoneflies to look at, but we did see some cool diversity of mayflies and caddisflies. Yeah. And if we had more time, we could, use maybe that basic key or figure out some traits that we could use to differentiate some of these guys. But I think you basically get it. You're looking at the tails, you're looking at the thoracic segments, and kind of just the general look of the insect. What else do you guys want to talk about?
Well, I think we're going to congregate with the other group now.
Okay.
And so we can help you carry stuff.
Awesome stuff.
Gather
Awesome.
stuff up and carry stuff because it is 5 minutes to 12.
Okay.